And what's up, you guys? Welcome to the Mango Grove. How's everyone doing today? We are going to be talking about the Ethereum merge, which is official and successful. I got Sean with me today, as well as Shervin. Sean with me today.
Morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Whoa. You guys gotta let me know how the audio is.
Is it too loud? Is it too loud? Is it too loud?
Okay. I got like a lot of playbacks and yeah, the
You
echo is
probably have
unreal.
you probably have a lot of tabs running in the background, Krisha. You probably have a lot of tabs running in the background, Krisha. You probably have a lot of tabs running in the background, Krisha.
Inception. Inception. How's it now, guys? Better? It did get it did get pretty freaking trippy. Yeah, we're just sorting out that technical difficulty. Didn't see that one coming. Give us a minute. We still have around 4 minutes before we begin. This should give us some time. By the way, guys, if you haven't already smashed that like button, go ahead and do so. All right, this is going to be another quick test to see if everything is A-okay. Shervin, are you still around?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, sweet. How's it now, guys? London member says we have just seen a big bear hiding behind a mango tree. Oh, the bear is not hiding. The bear is out with its claws. Okay, so we're just waiting on Sean. He literally just entered my studio and he's just like, I'm gonna fix it. Saving the damsel in distress. Yeah, that echo is pretty trippy, eh? Joe, that's fair enough. Fair enough. Voice
How's it
good,
now,
great.
guys? Is it working?
Yeah, give us a thumbs up if the audio is good. We have around 2 minutes before we begin. Hey, Wolvie, how's it going? Yes, it is a stream today. Can you guys hear the music all right? It's some mellow music.
Mr. Codler, how's it going, man? It's been a while.
What music? Oh, you can hear the music. Okay, let me just...
I can hear it.
Okay, cool. Maybe... Are you just making fun of my music, Tiffy?
No.
Oh, there's no music on YouTube. We'll have to. All right, how's it now? Do you hear the tunes at the back? Great. Okay, sweet. Awesome.
Could you ask Sherwin to speak too?
All right, Shervin, do you want to say something?
Hello, 1, 2. I think it's working now.
Okay, good.
Is there any echo?
No, there's no echo. We're good. I could hear the echo last time. Shervin, how is the echo there?
There isn't any on my end.
Okay. All right, so guys, are you ready to begin? Onto the charts? Onto the charts. In 3, 2, 1. Ethereum USD. How many of you have been anticipating the merge? How many of you actually played the merge? Anyone tried to speculate on Ethereum recently? Getting into the merge, leading into the merge? I feel like there's a lot to talk about in this particular event. It's like Ethereum's events always line up with the freaking bear market. But what was really, really special about the merge is that this is 5 years in the making. I'm going to wait for Sean to come in and say hello because I want to reference him on something.
I'm here.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone.
Awesome. Sean, remember when you wrote about the merge? Not the merge, it was not called a merge back then, but it was like the beacon chain, right?
Oh yeah, I wrote about the sharding and the beacon chain. This was back like 4 years ago, so it's all coming together. I was explaining it back then. I'd written a few explainer posts. And sharding is still not here yet, right? They've pushed that to like, what, 2028, 2026. But yeah, it's great to see things actually come together. I de-risked off Ethereum myself a while ago because what they were attempting got more and more convoluted. There was a lot of technical risk, and I didn't want too much risk on the table considering, well, our entire wealth is in crypto. But now I see Ethereum in the long run, as these technical risks do begin to get mitigated. I see a lot more people being interested in Ethereum, but Ethereum losing proof of work is also going to be a headwind against their future growth. So it's going to be interesting.
So I think the main question, and I still remember that time where you wrote those posts, and Sean was really keeping up with this whole, what is called a merge right now. Back then, I don't think they really had an official name. It was just like a bunch of things clunked up together, and you were following the roadmap, right? And at one point, it got so delayed, and everything was so tentative. Every date was so freaking tentative. This is coming up, but we're not sure when. Everything was getting delayed, and at one point, you're just like, well, you know, there's so many change in plans, and that post, while it's still relevant today, it's just like following up with the beacon chain and everything with charting just became so futile almost. Did you feel that?
That's not why I stopped following Ethereum, it was more so because the narrative constantly was switching, which was great for people who cared only about number go up. But when I was trying to be as conservative as possible within the crypto space, I found it a tad bit unnerving that they were so easily able to switch narrative and play around with monetary policy the way they did. So that's kind of why I stopped following it, because I did want something a little bit more boring, a little bit more safe and conservative while still having the upside. And that was Bitcoin, right? Where I knew what I was getting into and I knew how it was going to shape itself over the next decades. While with Ethereum, we had no idea what was going to come next. For example, just a few years ago, Vitalik was bashing Bitcoin for having a long-term deflationary policy, while Ethereum was inflationary, and they wanted inflation and how it was a good thing, blah blah blah. And today, lo and behold, they switched to a new narrative of, hey, we are ultrasound money, Ethereum is deflationary, etc., etc. They've reduced their issuance, etc., etc. And yeah, so it's that kind of thing. I just
Yeah.
knew where they were actually headed, which is again great for people who want to uh, place risk on the table. And again, I hold Ethereum, right? I've been in and out of Ethereum constantly throughout the past few years. But in regards to being an ETH maxi and having all of my main stash in Ethereum, that stopped being the case a long time ago.
Yeah. Before we get on to, well, price action and talking about like the fees and stuff, I'm going to go ahead and adjust your volume. I believe that some of you guys cannot hear Sean. I got everything on high right here. Let me see. Give me a heads up. How many of you can hear him and how many of you cannot? Apparently you're whispering. Low volume. Okay, let me see what I can do there.
Am I fine for you, Chauvin?
I'm listening back to the YouTube, and both of you are perfectly fine.
Oh, it's
So
not bad now. Okay. That's all.
So, Chauvin, am I fine on your end? Because if I'm fine on your end, Kusha just needs to adjust my user volume on her Discord.
you're fine on my end, and I also just listened back to the YouTube playback, and you sound fine there too.
Okay, I'm just going to pump it up a little more. Sean, I just did that for you just
Awesome.
now, and I'm going to do it a bit more, okay? And hopefully, guys, that should work now. Sean, everybody wants to hear your voice. Let's hear that one again.
So Chauvin was good this entire time, right? You guys can hear Chauvin all right?
Okay. All good with sound. Okay, so we have like mixed. Too loud now. Sounds good. Okay, what? It's like, you know, too
Guys,
low, too loud. Maybe third time's a charm. Shervin is not so clear. Oh,
We'll get this.
yeah,
We'll
we
get
gotta
this.
get this. We got a new guys. We officially have like two
I'll
brand
try
new
to speak up a bit
setups.
more for you.
Okay, well, I'm
Is
gonna
that better now?
increase. I'm gonna increase your volume as well, Shervin. Give me a second. All right, there we go. Everyone should be fine now. You guys, Shervin is slightly soft. It's all good. Three of you. Okay, sweet. Sweet.
Perfect. That sounds good.
Oh man, Shervin. Wow, that was Shervin's like super clear.
All right, so the question on everyone's mind is this: how do they trade Ethereum? How do they take advantage of whatever is to come in the short term, in the long term, on the bull side and the bear side? So, Krisha, you have a few ideas that we've been discussing all day.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be really beneficial for people to listen to. They get in. So we're going to go through everything that we talked about today, guys. And by the end of the stream, you guys should have a strong idea of what you guys should do, and particularly what we are going to be doing, how we are looking to trade Ethereum over the next few weeks, months, and even over the next few years.
Yeah. So, do you want to start off with? So, how about you pose the points, and then we'll have the discussion on that. What say you?
All right, let's go. Do you want to start with the TA first?
Okay, yeah. Let's start with the TA. I'm looking at Ethereum on the weekly time frame. Now, the main question is this a sell the news? event, right? Because the whole cliche, not I don't want to call it the cliche, but the saying goes, buy the rumor, sell the news. So is this a buy the rumor, buy the news, or is this a buy the rumor, sell the news? And quite honestly, I'm looking at the TA right now, guys. I still think, I mean, we're still very much in a bear market. Don't be mistaken in that regard. And this current price action that I'm seeing on the weekly time frame. Okay, first off, I'm going to draw your attention to the Ichimoku cloud on the weekly. I want to do a macro sort of visual on what the TA is telling you. The macro is what's going to count. The cloud right now is red. Okay, red equals bearish. Not just that, price is living underneath the cloud. And what I'm seeing here, okay, all biases aside, is I'm seeing a high being put in here, okay, a local high. And now we have a lower high that's being put in right here. Okay, yes, you can make an argument that we also have a low and a higher low, but I'm not liking the slope on these two sort of peaks right here, Sean. And not just that, if I just if you look at price relative to just, you know, the Tenkin that we have right above us, we've been using it as overhead resistance. So there is strong resistance. We're seeing a bit of a sell-off on each peak, and right now I'm looking at this. This could very well morph into an M-like formation, okay, that could break to the downside. And there is something that's alluding to that, and that is actually on the lower time frames. And that's why if I really had to lean on something on a side, I'm saying this is more of a sell the news event right here. I don't think this breaks that, this does not break that narrative, you know. So if I get on over to the 4-hour time frame, I want to show you guys what I'm seeing here, okay? Just going to zoom out of this picture. So what we saw on this juncture right here, we saw a head and shoulders pattern, okay, on the 4-hour, broke to the downside, and now this is forming a bear flag. All right, so if we start breaking the cloud to the downside, I'm saying this bear flag actually plays out further down. Okay, if I have to go and look at the measured move, just quick and dirty, let's take the measured move, plot it on the break for Ethereum, zoom out a tad bit, and just allow me to adjust my scale. This should take Ethereum all the way down to around $1,400, but that is the next sort of bearish target I have on the chart. So far, the lower time frames, guys, it's looking droopy. What are your thoughts, Sean, Shervin?
I'll let you go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm not liking the look of the weekly either, Krisha. That being said, we can't really call a lower high just yet, because if Ethereum does see continuation over the next few days, I think we could undo that picture. But again, the lower time frames are kind of beginning to look a bit unnerving. So what has me concerned at the moment is the fact that we do have the big FOMC meeting coming up next week, and it's kind of it's a perfect storm. It's a perfect storm for things to go wrong for Ethereum, right? While this could have been a really, really good situation for people to speculate on, hey, people are not collectively allocated enough for the long-term Ethereum merge, that FOMO is not going to be tapped into, because sentiment is just so poor at the moment that any hint of FOMO is just going to be completely squashed, and people are going to say, you know what, I just rather miss it, right? That's what I think Ethereum has going against it, regardless of the merge. And the TA is indicating, pointing towards that too. Because Krisha, if you switch back on over to your weekly time frame, if you could do that real quick for me. You're going to see that weekly tanking that you did mention, holding price down ever since the breakdown, right? Since that big head and shoulders that we pointed out back then, right? On Twitter, we pointed that out. And we do have the bearish TK cross. We do have the red cloud. So there's literally no reason to get excited for the merge narrative until we at least take back that weekly tanking. Okay, so that's how we need to be looking at things, guys. We say, hey, first, is the TA, are the charts giving us the signal? And then we look for signals for the macro backdrop to switch narrative. Because at the moment, the macro backdrop is really, really weak. The sentiment is really, really weak. So, and the charts are pointing towards that too. The charts are pointing towards a downtrend. So macro backdrop, weak, charts pointing towards a downtrend. As soon as the charts start switching that around, that's when I look for potential changes in the macro backdrop. And at the moment, We don't have that first big important signal. The price dictates all. Because even if the macro backdrop starts switching narrative around, unless I start seeing price give me the confirmation, it's not enough. Right? I need to see people act on that macro backdrop narrative switch. Right? I don't want people just selling into it, basically saying, "Hey, everyone's an idiot here. They're believing the stupid narrative. I'm going to sell into these idiots." Right? Once we start seeing market participation, and that we're going to see only on the charts. Right? We want to see market participation for this bull market, or rather this Ethereum merge, pushing the bull market. And that's going to come from the weekly Tenkin reclaimed, or at least the weekly dynamic. Could you pull up the dynamic, Kasha? I think it's a lot clearer.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Man,
Like
every
you're
freaking
seeing
attempt at
this.
the dynamic so far, it's like rejection, right? So once again, attempted, and we saw a rejection.
So
the dynamic.
two weekly candles above the dynamic, and we can start saying, okay, you know what? There might be at least a temporary shift of this current bearish sentiment. But until then, guys, I think it's best to just be cautious. I don't think people are feeling it yet. I don't think people are feeling that FOMO enough to say, you know what, I'm willing to put on some risk. Or rather, you want people to start feeling, damn it, I have so much USD and it's sitting on the sidelines doing nothing. That's not what people are feeling at the moment. Look at Dixie. Just look at Dixie. People aren't feeling, oh, my USD is doing nothing. People are feeling, hey, look, my USD is king of the world. It's literally outperforming everything in the world at the moment, because that's exactly what's happening. Equities are dumping, bonds are dumping, commodities are dumping, gold is dumping, Bitcoin's dumping, Ethereum is dumping too. Everything's dumping. Emerging market currencies are dumping, and USD is the only thing going up. So why would people get rid of their USD? Why would they go on from a asset that is trending towards the upside to an asset that is trending sideways, or more likely down to the downside, right?
Yeah.
I just don't see people doing that. As a trend trader, I cannot bring myself to get bullish on either Bitcoin or Ethereum in the short term, right? Because why would they? Like, the trend is on the other asset.
Yeah. Shervin, what are your thoughts on the TA? Have you been looking at Ethereum?
I've been looking at ETH BTC actually, because initially back in just when the merge talk was happening, I as Sean said, I wasn't really willing to risk my Bitcoin for Ethereum or the gain that I would have had. So I kind of went back in full Bitcoin, and then the recent pump that it had me in a mode where I was kind of unsure whether I was positioned in for it or not. But recent price action, I'm kind of now relaxed, because until we start closing candles above 0.08 BTC or Bitcoin to ETH ratio, I'm not really keen on looking at for any longs. So I'm pretty comfortable sitting for this narrative to kind of play out, and then look at ETH in that way. Because again, my main position, as Sean said, is to protect my Bitcoin. Rather than try to gain Bitcoin, trying to risk it on ETH and the ETH merge.
Yeah, I think ETH is it's also testing its last bull market highs, right? As far as the cycle is concerned, the entire cycle, if you look at it in a lens, it's testing those highs right now. And quite honestly, I have a system, so I've been talking about this, guys, for a very long time. I have a system dedicated to ETH BTC, and right now it's very, very close to triggering. And what does that mean when it triggers? When it triggers, it means that the trend is about to flip. All right, so I'm watching for the signal to go off, because it's like a multiple variables that I'm looking at for it to give me like that green 100% confirmation tick. And so far, it's given me 2. So as soon as I start getting more, that's when, this, and everything's sort of lining up. We're seeing ETH BTC test its past highs, in addition to Bitcoin dominance at its lows right here. So there's a lot alluding to, a flip in that ETH BTC trend. So I'd say watch out, make sure you're getting holistic view. Don't go buying in the middle of a range, right? Back on over to ETH USD. I want to get on over to the chat to see if anyone has posed any good questions, any comments. Say it out loud if you find anything interesting, of course. Harry says economic data coming in 10 minutes. Expect volatility. What data do we have coming in in 10 minutes? I believe the FOMC meeting is next week, if I'm not wrong. What else is coming out today? Utility did not change. He's like, ETH merge is amazing. However, transaction price, speed, and utility did not change. Staking and rewards. The staking and rewards is something I want to get to right after this, because I feel like to really understand where prices could go in the short term. Okay, I'm guessing many of you would want to know where price goes in the short term. That staking aspect, I believe, is very important. So I want to go over that in a minute. Unemployment data. Okay, unemployment data comes out today in the US. Retail sales and unemployment. Okay. Okay, so I want to talk about this whole the Ethereum staking, right? Because it's about really understanding, okay, how, even if this goes down, even if this is, let's all assume that this is in fact a sell the news event. Even if this goes down, where's the sell pressure really coming from? Because from my understanding, people who stake their Ethereum, they are not able to take that out. So it's still very much staked and it is locked in. Okay, so that sell pressure has been taken out, which is a pretty significant chunk of the possible sell pressure. Okay, so that has been removed out of the equation. Now, I'm only talking about this sort of event, okay? Now, who else could be selling here? Now, guys, I'm just brainstorming out loud. It's the people who sort of speculated on this rise here, leading into the merge, leading into the event, right? That sort of sell pressure could come in, because now it's become, once again, become a game of musical chairs, right? Music stops playing, everyone's suddenly looking for a chair, everyone's looking for a way out. So we could look at this sort of sell-off as one instance of that, and now we're seeing this other instance as well. So I'm looking at where sell pressure could come in from. As far as even speculation is concerned, because of the tight liquidity constraints that the world is seeing right now, we're in a bear market, interest rates are going up. Interest rates, guys, is the price of money. Okay, it is now it's become very expensive to borrow money. So that liquidity factor has been taken out. There's a lot of macro sort of plays right now, a lot of macro headwinds right now that's affecting global liquidity that also plays into the crypto market. So I'm saying that much of the liquidity has been taken out. It's either taken out, okay, or it has reduced, or it is locked in. So I'm saying that even if this dip comes in, I'm not expecting anything spectacular here. So perhaps, yeah, 1,400 could be that first stop. Maybe we get down to the $1,200 region, right, which is this right here. But I'm not expecting anything grand. What are your thoughts, Sean Shervin?
I think Ethereum is gonna see a pickup on any dump. I still don't think that until we start seeing a higher high and a higher low, I'm not gonna be convinced, right? But again, we could see pickups that is gonna draw people in.
As far as liquidity is concerned, who do you think, like, as far as, you know, who's left to sell? I think that's...
Yeah, I agree with you.
No,
I agree with you on
I
this.
disagree over there. I think there's a lot of people left to sell when it comes to Ethereum. I think in regards to Bitcoin, that question would be a tad bit more different, but I think Bitcoin's going to get hammered too if Ethereum does see a sell-off, because it's just going to cause a scramble for liquidity, a scramble for collateral, because hey, a lot of exchanges do trade with Bitcoin as people's collateral, right? And if they start seeing their Ethereum positions with their Ethereum collateral getting affected, they may start de-risking out of their Bitcoin positions as well. So you might see an unwind across assets if Ethereum sees a strong enough sell-off. And while there are people who are staying away from Ethereum because of the macro backdrop, there are just as many people, in my opinion, who are in Ethereum because they think that the merge is unallocated for, right? And because I see both sides of the equation, I do think that people aren't in Ethereum, they aren't allocated enough in Ethereum. I know this because I'm one of them, but at the same time, I also think that there are enough people who just don't care because of the macro backdrop. So I think it's like 50-50 at the moment. And as soon as one of those sides give in, right? As soon as one of those sides give in, price is going to go quickly in that direction and aggressively. So if the Ethereum bulls give up at the moment, you're going to see that zone get penetrated, Krisha, at least testing the wick low. But on the flip side, if people get renewed confidence thinking, oh shit, this proof of stake merge is the next big thing and I need part of it and I'm completely underallocated, you're going to start seeing people chase position to the upside and you're going to start seeing 3,000 get tested again. So it's 50-50 at the moment. I don't think either side has a strong edge. It's really going to depend on price. Price is going to be the easiest way to trade. If you take out the neckline that you marked out there, I think we come down. If you take out the Tenkin on the weekly time frame, I think we go up.
Yeah, fair.
There's no trade here.
For the scalpers, maybe, but otherwise, I'd say careful in this region, especially if you're playing the event. Okay, if you're someone just playing the event and that's all you're going by, this is where prudence is necessary. We are suggesting caution in this region. I don't think this moves away from the status quo, which is buy the rumor, sell the news. I think this is more of a sell the news. Price action is definitely alluding to that. And if there's anything you should be going by right now, it's going to be price action. It's going to be the first sort of precursor to everything else that falls into place. This is your edge. You'll learn how to read price action. This will tell you where the news rolls in at, okay, which side, bullish or bearish. As far as the macro events playing out, now we got done with one major event, which is the merge today. Now we have unemployment data coming out, but I think the big one that everyone's got their ears out for is going to be the FOMC meeting, right, which happens next week. Now, I wanted to talk about this. I wanted to especially bring this up in the Discord chat, but I think now is a good time. We're all here in the live. By the way, if you're not in the Discord chat, come on in, join the family. But anyways, what I really wanted to highlight is there's this narrative that's out there right now. Everyone is super bearish, especially with the recent CPI numbers that came out, right? And the general sentiment is okay. The Fed, Jay Powell's going to come out. It's going to be leading hawkish, and everyone's calling for a 100 basis point hike. All right, that's the general sort of consensus right now. Everyone is leaning towards that side, 100 basis points. I'm saying this. If Jay Powell comes up next week and if the rate hike is anything less than 100 basis points, I'm saying we actually rally here. We could either put in a higher low or we come back up to the top of the range. But I think short term, if there's anything that can sort of sway price on the short term, I think it's going to be that news that comes out. Anything under 100 basis points, I think is going to call for a rally. What are your thoughts on that, Sean, Shervin?
I'll let Shervin take this one.
I'm
speaking too much.
I agree. I think the market is expecting a very hawkish Fed this term, right? So I expect anything lower than that to let the market breathe and we get a bit of a rally. But I'm not expecting them to pivot this meeting or the next, actually. Sean, I was going to ask you, and I think Easy Shorta has actually brought it up as well. When do you think the Fed will pivot? Do you think some trigger has to happen for them? Do they have to see the markets change, or do they just need to play it by the numbers that he said? He said basically he's going to stick to whatever the data shows him. Because I actually think they're going to probably have to pivot in a different way rather than it all smooth sailing and the numbers are now perfect, so therefore we can start to bring the interest rates down. What do you think?
I don't think interest rates are ever coming down back to normal, to what people expect. So if people try to trade for that, they're just going to get destroyed over the next few years. I think it was the beginning of this year, Shervin, you've marked, or rather you've listed it in the Mango highlights section, right, where we discussed the history of the Fed funds rate going back, like, I think 20 years, I think all the way back to 1990. And I showed you guys how interest rates could very well go up consistently while the markets go up with the interest rates, right? It's not so much interest rates going up as much as QT that causes market dislocations, where the markets see a lot of volatility when liquidity is pulled out of the market. So I think the real Fed pivot is going to come not from them bringing interest rates back down to what people want interest rates to be at, which is what, 1%, 2%. I don't think we'll see that. I really don't think we'll see that. I think interest rates are going to be high consistently for a very long time. The real Fed pivot is going to come through just them saying, hey, you know what, we're not going to do QT anymore. Right, we're going to stop the asset sell. We're going to stop selling mortgage-backed securities. We're going to stop selling treasuries, and then a few months later, they're going to start even buying again mortgage-backed securities and treasuries. Meanwhile, we're going to start seeing a lot of pressure from the globe, where you're going to start seeing sovereigns selling their treasuries. You're going to start seeing the Fed respond by buying even more treasuries, and then you're going to enter the terrain of, hey, the Fed needs to keep interest rates low, okay, because or relatively low. Okay, let's take a step back over here because I might be going a bit too fast. When I say I don't see interest rates coming down or us ever going back to normal, I mean that we could settle down at around the 4 to 5% range, or 3 to 4.5% range for a very, very, very long time. And that might surprise a lot of people who are expecting interest rates to go back down to 1 to 2% because that's all they've seen, right? I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're going to settle at high interest rates, while inflation is going to sit at around 5 to 6%, right? So the Fed is still going to be underneath CPI, underneath inflation. But think about this, guys. If inflation is running at around 6 to 7%, there's no way the Fed could possibly bring interest rates down back to zero, okay? The only reason they were able to keep interest rates that low at around 0%, 1%, even 2% was because we were essentially in a deflationary environment because of globalization. Okay, what do I mean by globalization, guys? I'm talking about the fact that countries around the world were working relatively well with each other, right? We had good free trade. We had China's horsepower of their cheap labor and their massive manufacturing and their ability to also take part in the World Trade Organization, right? So all of that coming together allowed for the USA to offshore their factories to China and also offshore their labor, right? They were able to get cheap labor from China. But now all of that is flipping around. They are onshoring their factories, right? Or friendshoring, the way Janet Yellen spoke about it. And that's going to be expensive. And if those costs go up, costs of other items are going to start going up. So inflation is going to persist. It's not going to come down too drastically, not the way people expect it, because that world is gone. That world is over, right? We talked about this in a podcast that me, Krisha, and Sherwin did, where commodity prices, because of the globalization, because of countries not working well together anymore, is going to go up as well. So commodity prices are going to go up. Cost of labor is going to go up. These are structural shifts that people have not come to terms with yet. And over the next 2 years, they're still not going to come to terms with, and they're going to expect only technology to bring prices all the way, or rather interest rates all the way back down to 2%. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is technology has been one of the biggest forces of deflationary pressure in the world, right? But technology is still going to do well, but it's not going to do well enough to completely counteract what's going on with deglobalization. And that's going to push inflation up, and that's going to force the Fed to keep interest rates at a high percent, interest rates being the cost of money. Because if they get too easy with that, they're going to cause a inflationary crisis, and nations topple over inflationary crises, right? So I think what we're going to instead see is devaluation of the dollar while they keep interest rates at a relatively stable rate, right? They're going to keep interest rates up while the rest of the world is going to sell off their treasuries. And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for the devaluation of the dollar, because people are going to start saying, oh shit, I can't even stay in the dollar anymore, right? Because that's the issue right now. Everyone is in the dollar. Everyone is enjoying this strong Dixie strength. And once they want to flee out of that, that's when you're going to start seeing a real pivot from the market participants. Okay, So with that long-winded answer,
Just to
let you
give
guys.
people some context, Alvaro is in here. Alvaro, how's it going? He's like, could I get some context? So, well, Shervin asked him a question. Easy Shoda and Shervin asked him a question. It's like, let's talk about the Fed pivot. And why is the Fed pivot important? Because the Fed pivot is important, guys, because that's where the liquidity comes from. These guys can print the money at free will. I'm not going to say free will, but they can print it at will. So yeah, the Fed pivot, guys, is going to be very important to what happens with Ethereum as well. You know, the thing about these events, guys, like this was a seminal event. Everyone needs to understand something about the Ethereum merge. This is a seminal event in its roadmap. What's happening here is something that's big, okay? This merge is a big thing. They're moving from proof of work to proof of stake. There's a lot of variables that change. And I think, quite honestly, I'm looking at this as a bullish event. However, price is not reflective of that. Why is it not reflective? Because the liquidity is gone, right? The rug just got pulled out of everyone, not just Ethereum, not just the crypto market, but also every other market. Everything is trending down right now. So it's about when the Fed pivots, will that liquidity flow back in? Okay, that's why the Fed pivot is important to Ethereum, where this merge takes us, especially in the long term. So it's important to understand the macro aspect of the world right now. There's a lot of waves flowing around, so it's important to keep up. Okay, this is a good question. So before we get on to Easy Shoda's question, any of you guys want to say anything? Any of you guys want to bring up any topic on Ethereum, specifically the merge or the staking or anything around ETH?
I want to talk a tad bit more about Ethereum before we move on to any macro-related questions or anything, Bitcoin, whatever. I want to talk about how the Ethereum narrative at the moment, the trifecta deflationary narrative, might be
Sound money.
Yeah, sound money narrative is a tad bit concerning, so to speak, or overhyped the way it is being portrayed at the very least, because when you look at all of them being put together, you begin to realize that some of it is contradictory to each other, right? So we have three. Kusha, could you draw this out for us on your chart? Like just write down the 3 points, right? We have three aspects of Ethereum, that is
The three
aspects of Ethereum that are supposed to be that's supposed to lead to deflation, which is essentially one, the issuance, right? The issuance reducing drastically. Then we have, you could just scribble it, right?
This is
or you
easier
could
for
type it.
me.
Okay, cool. I like the scribbles. Then we have the fees, right? We have fees being burnt.
Okay.
But I think like 50% of all fees is supposed to get burnt, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and the third aspect is the staking.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So I just wanna talk about this because I'm bullish on the Ethereum merge long term, but it has nothing to do with points 3 and 2. It has everything to do with points 1. And I don't want people to get overly bullish on this, because I think points 2 and 3 are kind of being misstated. While they are strong, right, they aren't as strong as people are claiming, right? I think there's a fourth point too, where people are saying that Ethereum is going to be the treasury, is going to act as the treasury bond for the crypto market, which I think is completely bogus. It does not really make sense to me, so I won't even entertain that idea. Maybe if it becomes a strong enough narrative, we can. But at the moment, the issuance reduction is essentially Ethereum reducing how much Ethereum ETH they issue per block, right? Because proof of work miners needed a lot more Ethereum to make their mining profitable.
Yeah.
Validators, on the other hand, because now they've moved to proof of stake, they don't need to mine and consume electricity. They don't need that much to be compensated. So we are seeing a massive reduction in the issuance, I believe around 90% in that regard. Okay. The second narrative is the fees getting burnt. But the entire point of going to proof of stake, one of the biggest reasons was scalability and to reduce fees. So if we are to see consistent efficiency improvements in Ethereum and in their usability, right? If you want more people to use the network, you need to keep fees lower, right? If fees keep going up and up and up, right, people are not going to use the network. So at the moment, fees are directly correlated to people demanding block space. So if people are not demanding block space because of a bear market or because they choose to use a different platform, like they could choose Solana, they could choose Avalanche, they could choose Cardano. I don't know. Let's say that's one reason fees could reduce. And two, another reason fees could reduce is because the development team, the Ethereum team, could actually just improve their code to make it more efficient to reduce the fees. That completely nullifies and the second point over there of the burn being relevant, right? Because if fees reduce drastically enough, we are going to start seeing negligible burning, right? Third, we have staking, right? The staking narrative is kind of mixed bag, where we have a lot of people who are already staked from the pre-merge, who are currently in the pipeline waiting to unstake. So if we have people wanting to stake and we have people looking to unstake because they've been staked for so long, and they've also accumulated a lot of Ethereum, POS Ethereum, right, that they couldn't sell, but now they're going to be looking to sell. You have a lot more sell pressure coming in from the staking, and the amount of people who are looking to stake may actually begin to question whether they should even look to stake when so many people are looking to unstake. Maybe they're better off selling their Ethereum, wait for people to unstake, and then they sell their Ethereum, and then you get Ethereum cheaper, right? So there's a bit of game theory over there, where the smart play would be to wait for the current people who have staked to sell their Ethereum or sell their rewards, and you need to front run them before, right? So isn't that a midterm bearish event? If the staking is supposed to come out, the unstaking is supposed to be allowed in 2023, I believe. If people start looking towards that event and start playing one step ahead and think, oh, all of these people are going to want to sell their rewards, I'm going to sell my Ethereum first and I'm going to buy cheaper. That could end up being a very, very bearish event in the midterm that you need to be looking out for. And that could actually, if you're a Bitcoiner and you're holding Bitcoin collateral and looking to buy with Bitcoin, and I'm looking at you, Shervin, that could be an opportunity to get into Ethereum's long-term bullishness, which is the issuance reduction, right? I think that's long-term bullish. That would be an opportunity, right? Because I think the staking could be a bearish narrative that is beginning to formulate as we speak, right? Okay, the merge is here, everything's here, great. There's no execution issues that turned out, but now the next big event, because the team has developed a culture of always looking towards the next event, right? Ever since I've been in the space, Ethereum's always looking towards one big event, to the next big event, to the next big update, to the next big update. Well, the next big update is, I think it's called a Shanghai fork.
Yeah.
That could easily turn into a bearish narrative, very easily.
Yeah.
Right? If there's uncertainty about how many people are going to sell, you're not going to take a position. Are you just going to count on them to hold because of your beliefs that Ethereum is a super cool asset? No, you're going to start doubting that, right? And you're going to, at the very least, de-risk some. You're going to try to front run a little bit. And then because you're doing it, somebody else may. And because I know both of you guys are doing it, I'm thinking, no, I want to sell all my Ethereum before they do. And then I'm going to buy back cheaper. It just ends up being a self-fulfilling loop. And then you have a lot of FUD going on with that. There's a narrative that will get strapped on with that, with this entire centralization narrative, with the fact that you can censor groups of stakers. Like, I'm not saying this is all long-term bearish, I'm saying that there's an opportunity that may arise from
Yeah.
that narrative coming together.
Yeah. And
That's
long term. So you're talking about more like an intermediate term, right? In terms of leading into the next event, which is the Shanghai event, and I totally see that being a bearish event because now everyone is just stuck there in anticipation of what could happen. Now, guys, just to give you a big sort of not a big brief, but just to give you a quick brief on what the Shanghai event is and why it could tilt a bit bearish leading into the event. Is because the Shanghai event is when the people who have staked their Ethereum get their unlocks in. Okay, that's when all that staked Ethereum gets unlocked. And well, right now the general sort of view is that people are going to sell as soon as it has been unlocked. So I totally see that being forward priced. You know, people are going to price that in. We're going to see a sell-off getting into the event. And then depending on what happens after the event, I think that's going to be the big clue as to where Ethereum goes from there. Because if we barely see a sell-off after the event, I'm saying that, man, the people who actually staked and got their unlocks are not looking to sell, you know. So we have that. But on a long-term perspective, Sean and Shervin, I was thinking of the fee burn, right? This entire thing with the fee burn. And the thing is that the thing with fees, when you're receiving these fees for every block that gets mined, that's a little more sell pressure, right? From the miners, on the side of the miners. They get these fees and they could sell into the market if they want. But what's really cool about this whole proof of stake migration is that the fees now have essentially even reduced with this migration. So that brings about less sell pressure per day. And we're talking about in the millions of dollars per day. So I'm looking at that as a bullish thing for the long-term aspect for Ethereum, the long-term view for Ethereum as far as price is concerned. So I think that is bullish for price action, possibly getting us up into the 5 digits. And another thing that I'm looking at, so someone brought up this, I think I saw an article on after this PE, because of this the entire let's say variable of fees being reduced drastically, and that brings about less sell pressure. If you look at the PE ratio of Ethereum, now it values the entire network at 2.2x more than what it was currently sitting at with proof of work. So we're seeing a bunch of like bullish variables come in with the migration. So long term, I'm leaning extremely bullish on Ethereum. What are your thoughts, both of you, on the long-term view for ETH?
For me, really, it's about Ethereum's got a lot for it. Like all the things that are happening, there's quite a lot of bullish narratives going for it. There's a lot of stuff happening on chain as well with developments and developers around the whole space. But as Sean pointed out, the only and I'm going to use the word dangerous narrative around it is ultrasound money. I don't think Ethereum, while it was proof of work, maybe it had a chance to be money, but I don't think it does anymore because of just the proof of stake nature of it. Now, if people are looking at it as a development in this space, and as Wolvie says, a startup that is not finished, then yeah, there's a lot of stuff going for it. And comparing to other startups and other companies that are, I don't know, in the finance era, this is a great thing to compare to. But I would never, compare it to Bitcoin or money in that sense anymore. And that narrative is the one that's dangerous. Other than that, I am keen on investing in Ethereum and I want to have a position in it. But I think what Sean said kind of calms me down, because I do agree that there will be a kind of mounting of sell pressure at some point. And whilst I do agree with you, Krisha, that day-to-day sell pressure is totally reduced, like all of the people that just bought lots of graphics cards and mined without actually knowing what Ethereum or Bitcoin is, all of those guys are completely gone and out of the market, so they're not selling. I know actually quite a few people who had absolutely no idea what any of this was. They were in the property investment groups and they learned how to invest in all of this stuff through COVID. And then they just had rigs and rigs, and only recently have they turned their rigs off. Even after I spoke to them saying, well, the prices of energy's gone up, you're not profitable, just buy it off the exchange, you'll be more profitable that way. They hadn't realized that. There was quite a lot of I'm not saying that the majority of miners were that way, but totally the daily sell pressure is gone. But I am going to wait for that kind of cascading event to happen for me to risk my Bitcoin to get into ETH. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm thinking about it at this stage.
Sean, long-term view, Ethereum.
I'm not extremely bullish on Ethereum at all. I'm less than moderately bullish. Like I'd switch positions in a heartbeat if we had a bull market where a stronger narrative formulates on Solana, for example, right? And I think that's what's again going against Ethereum. It's so easy for another proof of stake platform to suddenly have a more bullish narrative because all of this excitement for the merge is going to be forgotten in a couple of months, and suddenly it's going to turn into FUD in the long term, or rather for the next event, right? I think the next event is going to start seeing FUD around it, and so while I think it is good to have a theme position, you can't be super bullish on it, because if you're super bullish on it, you're going to over allocate, and if you're going to over allocate, that could be dangerous for reasons we mentioned, because Ethereum, like Sean mentioned, right, you cannot look at it as sound money. Someone on Twitter posted a old quotation from Vitalik, where he compares Ethereum, or he compares proof of work and proof of stake, and he says, hey, this is how I look at proof of work. Or rather, the difference between proof of stake compared to proof of work is the fact that we can control all variables available to us. So if proof of work is directly tied to the laws of physics and the real world scenario, proof of stake is a simulated version of the real world where we can manipulate the laws of physics. And I looked at that today and I'm like, this is precisely why I decided to exit my massive positions in Ethereum back in the day, because I don't want somebody playing God with monetary policy and with my money, right? If I wanted that, I'd just stay within the current traditional system, right? And he doesn't mean bad, right? He doesn't mean ill. He's not like Vitalik is. He's well wishing, but he doesn't understand that if ever, like 100 years from now, 50 years from now, hell, 10 years from now, the Ethereum community is not led by him and is led by a completely different group of strangers that do not have the same ideals as the current Ethereum team, they are going to use that ability to manipulate the laws of physics in the simulated environment for bad deeds, right? For things that are not good for the community, for things that are not good for the end user. So while now Ethereum may be idealistic and may stick to those values, in the long run, if you give people the ability to manipulate the laws of physics, they will do it, right? And that's why people love gold, because you cannot manipulate it, right? That's why people love Bitcoin, because you cannot manipulate it. And people who do understand it, people who do value it, value Bitcoin for it being boring, value Bitcoin because it is not a startup that is constantly looking for the next shiny growth idea. They do not want it to be able to be manipulated. So yeah, that's precisely why I think Ethereum in the long run is going to suffer from a revolution crisis. If there's any sort of revolution, people may begin to say, hey, Ethereum is just like everything else. The rich are getting richer and richer and richer. I want to stake Ethereum too, but I can't stake Ethereum, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, so I think that in the long run, that's what's going wrong for Ethereum, but in the super long run. But in the mid long run, the issuance, right, the issuance reducing, I think that's not priced in, but that will come into equilibrium within like 2 or 3 years. And at that point, you're suddenly looking at the Bitcoin halving narrative, which is going to be much stronger, right? And the Bitcoin halving narrative is going to kickstart a bull market. And a bull market at that point, you're going to look towards altcoins. Yeah, you're going to look towards Ethereem first, but then you're going to go further out the risk curve. So you're going to look towards Solana, you're going to look towards Avalanche, you're going to look towards Matic, you're going to start looking at the new NFTs. And if you're playing the Ethereum trade, you're going to look towards soul-bound tokens. You're going to look at maybe decentralized autonomous organizations having their tokens. You're going to go towards ApeCoin. It's just Ethereum has put itself in a position where it can be easily replaced, right? Because now they've essentially left Bitcoin as the only proof of work coin in the entire space. And now we're beginning to start seeing a new narrative for Bitcoin begin to emerge, which is the anti-ESG narrative coming in from the White House, coming in from politicians saying that, wait a minute, we were wrong about Ethereum. What's going on over here? Ethereum is actually reducing the carbon footprint in the environment.
Bitcoin.
What happens when that actually picks up, right? That Bitcoin narrative that was so strong in 2020 has died down, it has suppressed. And back then, Ethereum was quiet. And now Ethereum is really loud and Bitcoin is quiet. So I want you guys as a community to be thinking 2 years down the road, 4 years down the road, and don't get sucked into the current narratives.
Yeah. So Sean was saying play the price action. But no, these are all really, really, really good points. Now, guys, I want you guys to take this moment to think of any questions you may have around the merge. Mention it right now in the chat. So because we're approaching the 1 hour mark, so we'll be drawing to an end very soon. So any questions on the merge, guys, anything on price action, let me know. So while you guys are typing your questions, I think I'm just going to give you a brief overview on what Ethereum USD is doing on the daily time frame right now, and what you guys need to be, what you guys need to understand about price action in the short term. Okay, so we're talking about the next 1 week. All right, so while you're typing your questions down, I'm going to quickly get on over to the chart and let's just do some TA on the daily time frame just to give you my thoughts on TA. Right now, guys, price is freaking droopy. I want you guys to notice what's happening with price relative to some of our critical moving averages, okay? We are about to get a bearish cross between the, about to get a bearish cross between the 10 and the 21 very, very soon. We're seeing everything slope down. Prices living underneath all of those regions once again, okay? So this starts breaking down further. I'll be looking for Ethereum to start testing this neckline. There appears to be a pattern on the chart. I'm looking at a cup and handle like pattern right now, which will likely, I mean, this is a bit drastic, the measured move, but the measured move points down to around that $1,000 region. However, I do believe that we have support coming in before that at around $1,400. Okay, so that is the first stop I'll be looking at before I look further down at 1,000, essentially Ethereum testing the lows. So I'll be looking at that first. But yeah, keep your eyes on TA right now. So far, short term looking droopy. Are you guys seeing anything else on the charts? Shervin, Sean, anything else? Any oscillator play, any divergences, patterns?
I was looking at something. Let me pull up my chart really, really quick.
This is a weak picture as far as price holding critical EMAs and MEs as resistance overhead. We're not able to take that out. So it attempted and failed right there. That is something to note on the daily time frame, that too. So I'm expecting further downside. 1442 for a stop. In the meanwhile, I'm getting on over to the chat. Okay, and also, guys, if you haven't already smashed the like button and you're liking the stream so far, please go ahead and smash that like. If there's any way you can help out the channel, it's with that very tiny, very cute little like button. Go ahead and smash it. Will there be a proof of work ETH airdrop? So more like, are you talking about if there was a split between the fork? I don't think there was a token split, right? Not a token split, but on the switch to proof of stake. Was there? Can anyone chime in? Anyone who's got more information? Someone possibly had ETH transaction.
I heard something about that, but apparently there was a airdrop of something called ETHW on your in your Solana wallet, but it disappeared from people's wallets just as quickly. So yeah, Kusha, I think you nailed it in regards to what I wanted to talk about for Ethereum's USD chart, and for the ETH BTC chart. You had something really, really important marked out as well that I think you should reiterate for everyone. How we are sitting on pretty much a key pivotal horizontal in regards to the ETH BTC weekly chart.
Yeah.
And I believe it's a neckline for the monthly as well. No, it is the pre-Tenkin level. So yeah, ETH BTC at the moment is sitting at a juncture where if it does break towards the upside, it's likely going to see a retest towards previous Bitcoin pairing all-time highs, right? And at that point, I think it's going to start threatening the flipping, right? It's going to threaten to flip Bitcoin on its market cap. So keep an eye on that, guys, right? Regardless of what your belief is in regards to the fundamentals, etc., price is the arbitrator of all debate at the end of the day. And if we start seeing Ethereum break this key level on the weekly, on the Bitcoin pairing, and on the weekly USD pairing, we're looking for Ethereum's weekly Tenkin to be cleared towards the upside. If you see that, hey, that's going to be opportunity, because at the moment, there's no other altcoin that is really worth trading. Maybe Lido, which is essentially a play on Ethereum, but yeah, you have to.
It's like a
that comes
derivative
with
on the staking,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
For those who don't have 32 Ethereum to run a whole thing, you can stake it in pools, and I think that's what Lido does. But just to give you guys a quick overview on what Sean was talking about, I think someone asked about the Ethereum BTC weekly chart. So here's the TA on it. So the critical level right now, guys, where you need to understand, we're testing cycle highs on the ETH BTC chart. What does the ETH BTC chart really tell you? It essentially tells you which is the asset that you are, well, safer in, right? So right now, for as far as Ethereum was trending up, Ethereum was the asset to be in. But as soon as it starts trending down, that's when the tide turns to Bitcoin. So as far as price action for ETH BTC is concerned, we are currently testing those cycle highs right here at around 0.08 sats. And what Sean was essentially saying is that as soon as we start breaking that 0.08 sat to the upside, that's when you gotta start being a bit more unbiased in your approach. You need to understand when to flip as well. What makes a trader a good trader is also setting your biases aside, understanding when it's time to turn. When is it time to flip bullish? Okay, and when is it time to flip bearish? Biases aside. So we start taking out 0.085 sats. There's a good chance Ethereum starts trending up. That's when we start threatening the flippening. When does the flippening really happen? Apologies for that nasty line. The flippening, guys, is essentially when the market cap, what the essential number here is the market cap, okay? That's when the market cap of Ethereum will be greater than Bitcoin. That's when the flippening takes place. Okay, it's not price, it's market cap. So understand that. So yeah, as soon as we start taking out 0.085, Ethereum is still in the lead. So we're looking for that on the ETH BTC chart. And if I get onto ETH USD on the weekly time frame, we're looking, what Sean was essentially saying is, let's pull up the Tenkin. Beautiful. So yeah, I think this play is very simple. Honestly, you could do so much with just this one little signature on the chart. Look for signatures if you are a trader. I want you to notice as soon as Ethereum lost the Tenkin right here, okay, this was on Jan 2022. We lost the Tenkin right there, which is the blue line you see on the chart. Every test of the Tenkin has met with rejection so far. Okay, so that is a critical juncture for the bulls to take out in order for Ethereum to give us a tip on further upside. So right now, guys, the Tenkin comes in at $1,933. Of course, this is a dynamic line. It's more of a derivation of moving averages. You're looking at historic price action, right? So this is going to be moving as we get more price on the chart. But for now, that is the key level, $1,933. Okay, but as soon as we start trending up, ETH BTC is likely also going to take a turn at that point. But yeah, this is the macro sort of view on ETH BTC as well as ETH USD. However, please note, there are no confirmed breaks just yet. Okay.
Well iterated, Krisha. Really well done. Good stuff.
I like doing TA. I get some satisfaction from it. Someone asked, is there any new roadmap for ETH? I'm sorry, man, I can't pronounce your name. I don't want to butcher it on live. Is there any new roadmap for ETH? The next major event for Ethereum is going to be the Shanghai event. I'm not sure what it's called, but it's Shanghai something. But yeah, that's going to be the next major one. A lot of the exchanges have the entire roadmap on there. So if you want, I think a good sort of reference at this point, of course, is the Ethereum Foundation. I think they've done an excellent job of laying down their entire sort of roadmap. So go ahead and check that out. And also exchanges like Kraken also have a very good summary on what is next for Ethereum.
I think they have the big sharding event right after that. So yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be another big one. Vodnik, Sean, he says ETC hash rates are at an all-time high. Does it mean ETC is the next ETH? Maybe ETC was the first fork,
I posted about ETC in the Discord saying that I wonder if the game theory on this is going to have ETC being the next play for the short-term move at the very least, because miners have nowhere to go, right? After the merge, maybe they just start mining ETC. I'm like, maybe ETC might be worth looking at. If you start seeing the price give us a signal, that could be a trade opportunity, right? So you start with a fundamental narrative, guys, and then you want price to confirm it. Okay, always. Price, again, dictates everything. Okay. You guys see me fixate so much on TA. It's not because I don't appreciate fundamentals. In fact, I started off my journey in the space, in the world, actually, with everything through fundamentals, and I realized I was getting my ass kicked looking at only fundamentals. Price allows you to risk manage. Price gives you confirmation. Price allows you to stay in the game long term, because hey, price is the easiest way to risk manage. Great question by Julian, by the way, that I do want to address. What relevance has proof of stake versus proof of work got in regards to the Howey test, for example? Well, proof of work.
So what is the Howey test?
Oh yeah, so the Howey test is essentially a set of rules by the Supreme Court that allows them to determine whether a certain asset should be termed a security or not, right? So that's one of the big taboos, I guess, in the current crypto market space, where, hey, is this a security? Is that a security? For example, if an NFT is giving out airdrops or any sort of like token, right, it could be deemed a security. So you're seeing NFTs just say, hey, we do nothing. So just an example. I'm not too well versed in this, but in regards to the Howey test and Ethereum, what I can say is that there are enough people in the Ethereum community, enough big pockets that have been likely lobbying politicians and the relevant people to keep Ethereum safe from any sort of security and regulations risk. So yeah, I don't think Ethereum is going to face that issue. Proof of work, on the other hand, is not Bitcoin particularly is not deemed a security. It had fair distribution, and there's nothing being given out the way. It's not like a bond, right, where you stake your Bitcoin and you get more Bitcoin. So you can do that through lending services, but Bitcoin itself does not do that. And BlockFi is like an example of a centralized institution that actually did get into trouble with the SEC because they were giving out yield on Bitcoin.
Yeah. That actually answers like many people's questions in the chat. Also, Joel Cruz, he says that was passionate from Sean. Joel, you have no idea. I genuinely believe, not because, Sean and I are together, but I genuinely believe that he is an expert on a lot of these topics, especially the macro topics. If you guys in the chat only freaking knew the amount of information that he has in his head, it's going to blow your mind. I believe that he can go freaking toe to toe with some of the best in the industry right now.
You're giving me far too much.
You're too,
well
you're
said,
too
Chris.
modest. You're too modest. I wish some of you actually got into like a one-on-one conversation with him. He is that freaking good. He's that freaking good. You guys want, and this is why I implore you guys when we're doing these lives, I know sometimes they're very, very spontaneous, but if you have any questions on these things, this is where you ask them. Because I'm not kidding. We taken a lot of this content, a lot of information, at least I do. And I noticed that Sean's explainers are just at another level. All right. He's not just able to sort of grasp the dense information, but he's also able to sort of, spread it in a very, very easy way to understand. So I implore you guys to ask the questions here, This is where you can really take advantage of all the knowledge that sits in his head. All right, so any more questions before we...
you give me way too much credit. And guys, keep in mind that Krisha is in love with me, so she's going to say nice things.
No, you can't say that. I don't think it's just me. I'm sure there are many other people in the chat that know this about you. Sherman, chime in.
Yeah, Krisha, it's just you. No, we all love you, Sean. I think Krisha's not saying it enough. I've learned everything in this space from these streams and being part of the Mango community. So I totally agree. Although I may love you a little bit too, though, so we never know.
It's competition now, Sherman. All right, guys. Any more questions? Harry, I went over the ETH BTC chart. It's just keep it simple, man. You know, when even it comes to the macro, the simplest picture, guys, can be found on the macro charts. Like, don't overcomplicate anything on the macro. When you overcomplicate it, that's when you go wrong as far as TA is concerned. ETH BTC, get on over to the chart, get to the weekly time frame, zoom the hell out. Okay, fix your scale, of course. Don't be like me. And look at where the next resistance is at. And we're currently up against resistance at 0.085 sats. You only get bullish once we start breaking that to the upside. Next target on this one comes in at 0. Wow. That goes back to, that takes me back to 2018, 2017. But yeah, 0.1 sats. Okay. Or now we can actually say 0.1 Bitcoin, and that would sound so much more better.
Easy Shorter has a good question. Sorry to interrupt you, Krisha.
Yeah,
He
no,
says,
that's okay.
what could Gensler even do about it if they try to go after it? It's not an American company like Ripple. They don't need to go after Ethereum particularly. They don't need to go after Ethereum Foundation. They could go after now because of proof of stake. All they need to do is go after the big pools, big validator pools. So for example, Coinbase, for example, Kraken. Now, yes, Kraken is not based in the States. If I remember correctly, it's based out of Europe. And hey, the USA and Europe are very, very friendly with each other. You think they can't get their hands, they don't have power over that jurisdiction? Of course they do. So all they need to do is basically, just tap Coinbase on the left-hand shoulder and say, hey, if you don't do so and so, don't lock up XYZ, or you don't block so and so transactions. Right. The thing is, they can now censor validators. They can go after centralized validators who are mostly based, or the big names at the very least, are going to be based in the United States, right? So most people who don't have 32 Ethereum, or even if they do have 32 Ethereum, hell, they could have 132 Ethereum, or they could have 1,032 Ethereum. If they don't have the conviction, or they don't want to spin up their own node, they're just gonna freaking give it to Coinbase and ask Coinbase to stake it for them. And now Coinbase gets more and more power. And the more centralized that gets, the easier it is for the SEC to basically get their way. So proof of work did not have that factor, right? Proof of work was not tied to one central entity. Each miner could literally just get up and leave jurisdiction and move to the States if China did something, or move back to China if the States do something. There's a game theory involved with there, but that doesn't apply to proof of stake, because you could be sitting all the way in freaking Australia and have your Ethereum in Coinbase, and then you get screwed. So
yeah. All right, guys, we're going to be wrapping up now. If you haven't already hit that like button, go ahead and do so. Show Mango some love, especially if you like the segment. Let us know if you like a mix of the TA as well as fundamentals. Maybe next time, we'll come up with, the next coin. I've been looking at Cardano recently. But, of course, if you guys have any suggestions, anything you guys want to hear about, let us know. Get into the Discord. Let us know what it is that you want to hear about. Perhaps we can even have a poll, and we can go by that, right? MeloJ says EOS. Man, I remember playing EOS. EOS is, I don't know, last bull market was freaking dead. But okay, people. And if you haven't already smashed that like button, go ahead and do so. Sean, Shervin, any final thoughts for the audience? Any love that you want to throw their way? Are you guys just waiting on each other?
yeah,
I was mute. No, I was showing love, but I was mute. Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been fun.
And make sure you guys join the Discord. I used Discord's newest feature where they allow you to post forum posts on within the channel. So make sure you guys check it out. It's right at the top of the Discord thingy list on the left-hand side. And I encourage all of you to take part, to participate and brainstorm within there, because that's how you improve the long run, right? Being able to discuss with the community and writing out your answers helps you think a lot more with a lot more clarity, forces you to even think about things because you're not always going to have to rely on Mango that way.
Yeah. And I also urge you guys to join the Discord chat and be active because there's a perk there. The perk is you get access to a private Prime group where you get, but we essentially put out exclusive content. So yeah, any sort of trade setups that we find, I'm going to be giving it to you, to the Prime members first. So yeah, just a heads up, join the Discord chat. You will find the link in the description below. And now I hope you guys enjoyed this live stream on the Ethereum merge. It was a success. Congratulations to anyone who was waiting on it. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you guys in the next stream and hell in the next daily video. And with this, trade safely, trade stress-free, trade the Mango way, trade the easy way. Thanks, you guys.